Hi, everybody. So Lisa and I are here together. We're going to talk about what quantum is today. And I'm really excited because it is what we're doing. Oh, and look, now the sun's coming up. I'm getting super bright. But quantum is something that we haven't really talked about a lot. And I think that is who we are. So let's start talking about it and knowing how powerful we actually are to create in our own lives. So Lisa has written something, and I'm excited to hear this.
Well, what I have here is what is quantum healing and how does it work? And so for people to really understand that we are energy. So quantum healing states that the body has energy fields that can be influenced by consciousness. And these energy fields, often referred to in traditional Chinese medicine as your chi energy, and that's your life force. And so we are influencing our life force. And it was interesting because I felt myself getting sick the other day and I was watching myself on Zoom and I literally watched my life force start to diminish. I literally started getting paler and paler and was like, that's really interesting. So when we're not feeling well, we can lower and diminish our life force. So it's about, there's lots of different techniques that are out there to help you balance. So the quantum healing is one of them. And you can use this, but think people use Tai Chi, they use acupuncture. There's all kinds of different techniques that are used to balance your chi energy.
Mhm.
But one of the most important thing is that people don't realize is that when you get into quantum physics, it sounds really complicated. And we've got quantum entanglement, which is where that's the interconnectedness of all of us. And regardless of distance, how we can influence things around the world by our thoughts. And I know you talked about that study, was it Greg Braden talked
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. So he had a study that he was talking about. He didn't do the study. So it was a military study. And basically, they sat somebody in front of a screen and they took a swab of their DNA and they took it 400 miles away. And as this person is watching the images come up on the screen, his body's reacting, but also the DNA is reacting at the same time. And there was no lag, it was just instant reaction. And so if he was seeing something horrible happen, his body was reacting. If he was seeing like a flower or, something beautiful, he was reacting as well. And that is how it works. Like when you're doing a remote healing, that person is agreeing to basically kind of allow you to help guide them. And they're actually doing their own healing, whether they realize it or not. And the energy that's moving is something that maybe the healer is stirring, but the person is the one that's saying, yes, I'm willing to heal. And they're allowing all those pieces to come together and to be healed. So it all comes back to the self.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a great metaphor for this is Dr. Masaru Emoto's work. For those of you who are not familiar with it, is he was a Japanese scientist who was curious about if emotions could be stored in water. So he would set up these water vials and have people direct different emotions to the water. He would freeze it and then look at the water under an electron microscope. And the difference between something like you fool versus love and gratitude was significant. And I actually saw a study that IKEA did in Dubai at a school where they had plants in different
Mhm.
parts of the school. And they energetically gave love to one of the plants and said awful things to the other plant, and the other plant died.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, and I always say, be careful what you say to yourself in the mirror and when you talk about yourself, because your unconscious hears you. So
Mhm.
you're having that same impact on yourself. And when you think about Dr. Emoto and the work he did a study where he did this double-blind test with water, but he took 2,000 people in Tokyo and had them focus on water that was in Los Angeles. And it was surrounded by an electromagnetically shielded room.
Mhm.
And they had 100 judges. And all of these people sent this intention of love into these vials of water, and all of them had changed significantly. So, this is why quantum healing works, but it only works if you allow it.
Yeah.
Because I love that there's a metaphor that I think about is there's a highway, and you have your destination that you want to get to. And all these boulders are in the way. Those are your thoughts, your beliefs, your past lives, your inherited ancestral beliefs, any traumas of what you've experienced. That's all in that road. So your work in this life is to say, okay, I'm going to get all this out of the way so I can reach that destination. But some people like having a bumpy road for whatever reason.
Yeah. They're not willing to give up whatever that lesson is. Some people aren't. And I know it depends. It depends on the ego itself. Wow, maybe the ego didn't want to hear this. Depends on the ego itself. Like, what are you willing to let go of to allow the healing to come in? And when we go through a healing, like there's a lot of letting go of stuff and a lot of agreeing to let go of all the different things that can get in the way. And some people may subconsciously not be agreeing, even though they're saying that they are. And some may be absolutely wholeheartedly agreeing. So it depends on the self where your healing goes. And I know when I was doing it individually, it was really beautiful sometimes. And then some people were not progressing as much. And it really had to do with what they were willing to change. And not only is it with healing, it's like with this world, like what are we willing to let go of to allow the good stuff to come in?
Right.
So it's everywhere. And I feel like we're really learning in a accelerated manner right now. And also the frequencies are supporting accelerated healing right now.
Yeah, I had a client come to me about a month ago, and he was smoking 4 packs a day. And he came to me, he was in his 70s because he was developing COPD. And the first thing I always ask people is, how invested are you in quitting, and how badly do you want to quit? He goes, well, I got myself down to 1.5 packs a day. I said, okay, that's good. How badly do you want to quit? He goes, I don't want to quit. And I always say, I'm not here sprinkling magic fairy dust over you and suddenly have you magically quit. I said, this is something that's a desire. We are tools to hold space to help raise your frequency and vibration so that you heal yourself. We're
Mhm.
not doing anything to you, we're doing it for you to help you heal yourself. And
Mhm.
that's something that's really important because people are like, I didn't have anything happen last time. Well, there may have been 10 other people who did, but you might not have been ready. There might be other things that need to be cleared out that are unconscious that you don't even have awareness of that
Mhm.
need to leave. There's so many different reasons, and I never want someone to feel bad because something hasn't cleared out. It's just timing. It's getting to the root cause, because if it's inherited or it's past life related, how are you going to have access to that? How are you going to know that that's really getting to you unless you do the deeper dive to look for it?
Mhm. Yeah. And that's what we're doing is a lot of that, but you still have to be totally like, maybe you're getting something out of being ill. And we have to ask, what do you see on the other side of the healing?
Right.
You know? And this is part of manifesting too. Like, what do you see on the other side of that change? Do you like what you see? Are you ready for what you're seeing? Are you really ready to embrace it? And this is also applies to some of the things with abundance. Like, not everyone will come into a quadrillion dollars or whatever it's going to be. Not everybody's coming into that because they're not ready. So some people will come into a certain amount of money every month, and that's what they're ready for. But I think that everybody is ready to let go of fight or flight, survival mode, all of those things. So ask yourself, am I ready for that when you go to
Yeah.
one of these healings? I'm
A
really excited about them.
Yeah, a perfect example was someone who I worked with recently who had an issue with their hearing. And I checked in the next day and the buzzing was had been really prevalent, and they woke up that morning and it was gone. And all of a sudden they were like, "Oh my God, it's gone." And then it came back. You can call things back. So you
Mhm.
have to really honestly be prepared to let something go, because there are times when you're calling something back because there's an attachment to it, but you don't consciously know what that is.
Yep. Yep. Which is why digging into the subconscious and being willing to keep, going with something is really good. And miracles are happening, but you created them. And
Yeah,
we just said, here's the door. Here's
yeah,
the doorway to that miracle. And I think it's really becoming more and more beautiful because we're not the only healers that are experiencing profound difference in people and also in ourselves. Like, I've had so my almost my entire life, there's been some sort of illness going on.
mm,
And that is not the case anymore. So it's a huge difference that we're creating for ourselves right now, too. And it
yeah.
feels really good.
Yeah, and you're well aware of this. I've been notorious for my whole life upper respiratory infections, right? Bronchitis, pneumonia,
Mhm.
strep throat, ear infection, sinus infection, you name it, I've had it my entire life. And when I felt myself going down last week, I said, uh-oh, I haven't been sick in 2 years. What just happened? And I am in shock because I've never literally been through something in 3 days. This was usually a 2-week ordeal. I should still be in bed with 103 fever is what my old self would have had. So the fact that I was able to clear through something in 3 days is in my mind miraculous. And one of the other things that I'm seeing is with the clients and the people that we're working with in these healings, and I want to preface this because we always have to have our disclaimer. We are not licensed mental health or medical professionals. If you
Mhm.
need one, it's important to go see one. And we cannot diagnose or treat anything. But what I want to tell you is there are people who have had chronic, very serious conditions that have come to our healings that are completely gone. I have testimonial after testimonial after testimonial between, in our healings that people are sending in really amazing things. And these are not only physical, but we had someone who had a spiritual healing who said their aura expanded 50 times their size. They
Wow.
had a psychic reading afterwards. It was really cool to hear that. So understand that these healings are on many different levels. And it also works on your pets. So bring your animals in when you come in for the
Yes.
healings.
Yeah. They're transmuting a lot, the pets are right now, and some of it is for us.
Yep.
I shared a little video with a dog that led the police officer to a house like out in the middle of nowhere that was burning. and the house had their owner in it, and the
Wow.
dog led the cop down road after road, and they finally got there. So
Amazing.
really, an animal, a pet can be an angelic being that is there to assist you, but it doesn't mean that it's helping their body to always assist you.
Right.
Yeah.
I I had I work with an animal communicator. Her name is Michelle Lowry, and she's amazing. And we were working with a client who had a cat who was very sick. And the cat was communicating with Michelle and asking me to do a healing. But the
Mhm.
healing wasn't for the cat, it was for the family.
Yeah.
And the cat passed. So
Yeah.
this is how powerful these animals are, because I was so confused as the cat started to get sicker and sicker, and I was like, wait a minute. But he asked for this help and wanted the healing, but it was for him to help him pass,
Yeah.
to have the energy and to support the family. It was
Mhm.
really beautiful.
It is. And they know, like, they see through the veil, most of them.
Yeah.
So they know that it's not really as big of a deal as we think it is. So they're not as affected. Like when I had my NDE, I was like so excited to not be here anymore. Like because it's dense, it's tough, right? And I was 7, and I'm just so grateful that I did come back. But I asked the question flat out, like, what's going to happen if I stay and I don't go back? And the answer was that the family would fall apart. So I came back,
Yeah.
and we really have created a lot. We've got a lot of skin in this game that we're playing, which is about learning. But we also have a lot more gifts and a lot more things that we have access to that are much more easy. It's much easier to access these things than it used to be. I know I had a quantum healer when my thyroid was just destroyed, and she did this healing, and for 2 weeks my throat was sore, and for 2 weeks her throat was sore. And she's like, well, I did realize, that I wasn't supposed to do that by myself, but I did,
Mhm.
and I hurt myself doing it. So now it's a lot easier to do. Like I don't feel anything is affecting my body when I'm going through one of these with Lisa when we're
Yeah.
doing this. But in the past, I think it was because the energy was so dense, I think it was a lot harder to accomplish.
Yeah, I remember when I first started, I was walking around, I was a walking empath, absorbing everyone's pain, I couldn't go to the grocery store, I couldn't go to the mall, I couldn't go to dinner. One time I was sitting in a restaurant and my shoulder was aching, it hurt so badly. And I was grabbing onto my shoulder, and then I turned around and the person behind me had just had shoulder surgery and they were in a sling. And
Huh.
someone finally said to me, because my son, every time he got sick, I would get sick. And someone said to me, what good are you if you're sick, you can't take care of him? And I learned that pain was a great transmuter and that I had to learn to step back and hold space and allow people to go through their pain and their lesson instead of trying to take it from them. Because when we try and take it from them, there's an enabling that happened. So that was a huge lesson for me. But I went from healer to healer to healer. And I remember one of them would just say to me, just stop it. Like I was in a Bob Newhart comedy.
Yeah,
On the Mad Show, Mad Libs. But yeah, I was like, I just gave you $100 and you just told me to stop it. I was like, I
yeah.
wish it were that easy. But I learned a lot of that, of how, maybe this is something we could do a show on or something, is if
Mhm.
you're an empath, how to protect yourself and how to create boundaries. It's really important because you're not helping people by trying to take their pain from them. And that's not what we're doing either. We're just holding space and let the guides do the work. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, yeah. basically facilitating is what we're doing. And it's really been interesting because there's so many facets to everybody and all the things that we're doing. And the Martyr program was huge, huge program that was created. And it has not served anybody's highest good.
No, I was really good at it too.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to do a lot of the same thing, like basically taking on everybody's stuff, fixing it for them. And then I would just go and lay on the bed like a, you know, like just totally exhausted.
Yeah,
And it's important that we don't do that anymore because you're actually taking away somebody's sovereignty.
true.
Yep.
It's true. So I'm really excited, and we have this coming up, was it September 27th? So this
Yes.
will be our second group healing, and it's going to be 4 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to get the time clarified for everyone. So that is what is that, 2 o'clock Mountain Time.
Right.
So we'll have all the times clarified, and we're hoping that people think about a subscription and do this monthly, because you'll be able to focus on one thing that you want to work on, and we're going to have different themes. And part of the subscription is going to be a library that we're going to have lots of videos and information for you.
Hmm.
And we also have a big surprise coming that we're working on in is it October?
Yeah.
So we're hoping everything comes together, but that's going to be a big event. And those people who subscribe will get an extra something special as part of that.
Yeah. Definitely. And we also created a chat group so that you guys can
Yes.
talk to each other. And I think there's a lot of different groups going on right now. And really like feeling into what is in your highest good for yourself is important. I know that as healers, we're like really excited to help right now. And there's a lot of people that can benefit from this. But the main thing is that they agree to let go of whatever it is that's plaguing them.
Yeah. And if you're not ready, there's no shame around it. It may just be some additional work. It might just be like one session with someone to just release it. It might be something really simple. You'd be surprised how quickly these things leave because they're not serving you any longer. So
Yeah.
um, it may be something that's not as, people are afraid to feel sometimes. They're afraid to feel the pain, the emotion, and all that. And one of the things that I love doing is like teaching people, just let it go.
Yeah.
The holding on is creating far more pain than touching
Mhm.
it and letting it go.
Yeah. Yeah. And crying it out, doing whatever it is to release is really important.
Right.
And a lot of people will feel like they need to do that after
Yeah.
because we're helping facilitate the release of the program that's kept everything going because everything works in loops,
Yeah.
loops and spirals. So you have to decide, do I want to spiral out of it or do I want to loop in it and stay in it? And we're finally spiraling out right now. Humanity is right now spiraling up and out of what we've been in. And it doesn't always feel pretty or look pretty, but it's so beautiful to let it go.
And it's really important to look at what you're worthy and deserve, feeling worthy and deserving of it and
Yeah.
allowing it to come in. Because that's a big one for people that they don't even realize, especially people who've been through a lot of trauma in their lives. Many of them don't believe that they're worthy and deserving of all this abundance. They may
Right.
think so on a conscious level, but not unconscious. So allowing for all of this to leave, because the more people who do this healing, the more we clear the way for abundance to come in for all of us.
Mhm.
Because this is the quantum healing of the collective unconscious,
Yeah.
the collective consciousness. This is about influencing the entire universe.
Yeah. And it is because we are a soul group that is ascending. And as we ascend, the universe ascends.
That's why
So,
we're so important.
yeah, humanity is so important. Yep, beautiful. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to put the link below so you guys can go check it out. And we hope that you have a fabulous day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.